This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:35. And with the midterm elections fast approaching, I want to focus on today the governor's race, which is a big square off between Republican Asa Hutchinson, Democrat Mike Ross. Poll numbers. We're going to talk about the poll numbers and fundraising numbers coming up shortly. We want to talk about the issues right now in this important race. And there are communications directors from each campaign joining us in studio. It's kind of nice having both of the comms guys squaring off with a former comms person. Great to have you here. Brad Howard is communications director for Mike Ross for governor, the Democrat candidate, and on the Republican side, J.R. Davis, comms director for Asa Hutchinson for governor. Great to have both of you in here.
Thank you, Alice. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And we've had two big debates in this race so far, and we've had both of your bosses squaring off, and we've seen talking about jobs and the economy and education. One of the big issues that has come up in these, where we're seeing a lot of back and forth, is each of the candidates' tax plan. And if you can, we'll give you some time to, how would you show the contrast between your candidate's plan and his opponent? And Brad, we'll start with you briefly, looking at Mike Ross' tax plan, how it contrasts with Asa Hutchinson.
Well, sure. Thank you, Alice. We appreciate the opportunity to come on today. And, Mike Ross has a lower fair tax cut plan, and it focuses on the inequality in the fairness of the tax code system. And right now, a single mom making $34,000 a year pays the same top income tax rate as someone making $340,000 a year. Nothing fair about it, and Mike Ross is going to lower taxes for nearly every working family and small business in Arkansas. And what he'll do is modernize the income tax code system to where everybody gets moved into a lower bracket, and at least the income's below $75,000. And it saves the average working family about $665 a year when it's fully implemented. But here's the big difference, is how it's implemented. Is Mike Ross will do it in a gradually, fiscally responsible manner, just like Governor Mike Beebe has done, in a way that protects the state's balanced budget and protects important services like education, Medicaid, and public safety. Now, Congressman Hutchinson has a different approach. He's promising $100 million in year one, and then he's going to balance the budget and protect education, Medicaid, and public safety. So, there's a big difference here.
All right, JR, how would you assess Asa Hutchinson's tax plan and how it contrasts with Mike Ross?
Well, Asa's been very consistent on his tax plan from the very beginning. It's $100 million. It targets middle-class Arkansans. It starts with $20,400 up to $75,000. And that's the sweet spot in Arkansas. That's what we got to get going again, to drive the economy, job creation, all those sorts of things. Brad and the Ross campaign like to attack Asa on his $100 million tax cut, say that Arkansans can't afford it. We can't afford it. It's a doable plan. His plan is $575 million. He says will implement as the state can afford it. Well, if he does what he says, and that's implemented within 8 years, that's $70 million a year in year one, $140 million in year two, $210 million in year three. It's very expensive, so it's ironic that they attack Asa for his $100 million tax cut in year one, which we can do, and then turn around and say, well, what we're going to do with his is $575 million. So that's a pretty stark contrast right there.
And also education has been a big focus of both of the campaigns, and the key to success in the economy in the state with education. Some put a little more focus on technology, some on pre-K. JR, what would be, you say, the key points in Asa Hutchinson's education initiative if he were to be elected governor?
Well, first of all, the one thing we've talked about quite a bit is computer science education in every Arkansas high school. That's something that's exciting. Everybody's seen the ad with his granddaughter Elabeth, but let's talk about the actual facts of it too for a moment. 1 out of 10 schools across the country offers computer science to their students. That's 10% of America. Arkansas has a chance to lead in this area, which is something I know a lot of people probably haven't thought about before, but we can lead in technology in this area. The programming jobs across the country are growing at twice the national average. By offering this to every student in Arkansas, we have a chance to not only give our students a leg up when they get out of high school, but we can bring industry to Arkansas. We can keep those jobs, or we can keep our students here and provide opportunity here instead of having them go outside the state. So that's one big aspect of it. Of course, he wants to concentrate on STEM education, career tech, 2-year colleges. This is a good opportunity for Arkansas to move forward with ASA's education plan.
And Brad, the contrast with your Mike Ross, how is his different?
Well, Mike Ross is the son of school. He's the son of school teachers, so education is personally very important to him. He's running to be the education governor because that's how you create jobs in Arkansas. And his big initiative is that he wants pre-K accessible to every 4-year-old in the state of Arkansas. And the reason why pre-K is so important is that you get a $10 return on every dollar you put into pre-K, because that's fewer people on welfare, that's fewer people in the prison system, and it's less money you have to spend on college remediation. So we're boosting college graduation rates at the same time. Mike Ross has made a big push for career tech. He wants to renew our state's focus on career tech or VOTech in Arkansas for the people who maybe didn't go to college or didn't finish college or who are in between jobs. And, and also a big push for college affordability. He wants every young person in Arkansas who wants to go to college to better afford a college. So, Mike Ross is running to be the education governor, and that's how you create jobs in Arkansas.
And joined in studio here with Brad Howard, comms director for Mike Ross for governor, and J.R. Davis, the communications director for Asa Hutchinson for governor. And these are big issues that often come up in these debates, certainly education and taxes and the economy. One thing that did come up in the debate I want to ask you about, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we saw that Asa Hutchinson brought that up, and it's also included in Mike Ross's crime prevention plan. On that issue, just real quickly, if you can, how would your candidate plan to address domestic violence, specifically with this being Domestic Violence Awareness Month? How is that important? And Brad, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. This has been a big issue for Mike Ross. He's the only candidate out there with a comprehensive plan to address domestic violence in Arkansas. It's a serious problem in Arkansas, and we need to send a message loud and clear that we're not going to tolerate domestic violence in Arkansas. He's got a plan. One of the first things he's going to do is pass the Protecting and Empowering Survivors of Domestic Violence Act. Basically what that does is it establishes a lethality assessment program to help train law enforcement officers to better recognize lethal situations. We're also going to increase funding for the Domestic Peace Fund through adding court fees to criminals convicted of domestic violence. That'll help build more shelters and reopen ones that have closed in Arkansas. And we're gonna ask the Commission on Child Abuse, Rape, and Domestic Violence to publish a biannual report talking about domestic violence in Arkansas so we can measure the progress we're doing.
All right. And JR, this is something that Asa brought up in the debate the other night. What are his priorities and focus in this area?
It is obviously a big deal across the country, and it being October with Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We commend Mr. Ross's plan. This is something we need to concentrate on with domestic violence. Asa, though, is the one with the experience in law enforcement. If you look back, if you look at his background, he was a U.S. attorney, and then he was administrator of the DEA, and then Undersecretary of Homeland Security. So he has an extensive background in law enforcement, and that's something he wants to bring to this issue as governor. And not just with domestic violence, but with violence across Arkansas. With recent events, we do seem to be focused a lot on that right now with crime, and that's something that Asa wants to be able to bring to the table with his law enforcement background. So it's not just domestic violence; it's really the crime problem that we do have in Central Arkansas.
All right. Before we go to break, there's two issues that I think I want each of you to hit on that would be different and separate from what we've been hearing a lot on. And this is yesterday, J.R. Asa Hutchinson brought up the issue of tourism, and it's a huge economic driver for the state, and the need to put a focus on that for our economy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yesterday, we were proud to get the endorsement of former Governor Mike Huckabee, and Asa talked about tourism and how important it is to the state. His favorite park is Mount Magazine. He always talks about what he'd rather be doing than running, and that's spending time in our incredible outdoors here in Arkansas in our state parks. It's a huge economic driver for Arkansas. We see it all the time with how we promote our state, and that's with our parks, outdoors. Buffalo River's a big aspect of it. So this is something we need to put an emphasis on to bring people to our state, to create those economic dollars from our neighbors from around the state, because we have a lot to emphasize here in Arkansas.
And Brad, I want to ask you with regard to veterans issues and the priority for taking care of our veterans. Where does Mike Ross stand on caring for our vets?
Well, let me first point out that ACE's tax cut plan will lead to cuts in budgets across the state, including parks and tourism. So I think that's important to note. But in terms of veterans, Mike Ross has a comprehensive Veterans Matter plan. Step one, he's going to call for a strategic plan for serving veterans in Arkansas. We need to better coordinate all of our services to make sure we're all on the same page, that we have a unity of effort in how we support our veterans in Arkansas. And a key part of that is how we support our female veterans who have a whole set of unique challenges. We're going to empower the Arkansas Veterans Commission. We're going to look at the possibility and see how we can best implement a way to exempt military retiree pay from income taxes, which I think will help drive and bring more veterans to Arkansas. We're going to increase access to veterans treatment courts to help those veterans who are in our prison system, to help them get the treatment they need to get back into the communities. And then we're going to ensure the Arkansas National Guard remains relevant and able to perform both at state and federal missions so we can avoid BRAC closures. And then finally, we're going to help veterans transition from combat to careers to help them better get the licensures or college credits they need to get a good paying job.
All right, I want to give JR opportunity to...
Yeah, first of all, our tax cut plan will not lead to cuts in the tourism budget. That's false, number one. Number two, this is something that the Ross campaign has continued to do, Alice, and that is go around the state, promise all these things that they're going to do, and talk about all these different things they want to do while attacking ACE's $100 million tax cut plan. Their plans by themselves, not counting the $575 million tax cut plan that he wants to implement over 8 years, it already equals what Asa wants to do with his tax cut plan, whether it be the manufacturer's tax cut, pre-K funding, or what he just talked about with veterans. Veterans are huge in Arkansas. We need to protect them. We need to help them. At the same time, though, you can't just say we're going to do this, this, and this without actually laying out a plan of how you're going to do it and how you're going to pay for it.
Brad, I'll give you an opportunity to...
I encourage all the listeners out there to go to MikeRoss.com. We've got comprehensive plans, particularly with veterans. It's a pretty extensive plan, and we're proud to have the support of Colonel Mike Ross, which is funny because they both have the same name, but Colonel Mike Ross is a former Brigadier General of the 39th Infantry Brigade here in Arkansas. So, I think if you go MikeRoss.com, you can read more about him.
All right, and JR, website for Asa?
ASAPlan.com. He's been consistent throughout his campaign on it. It's a 6-point plan to get Arkansas up and running with the economy and job creation.
Okay, we're going to take a break and come back. We're going to talk the wonky numbers, the poll numbers, the fundraising numbers, and a little bit about the campaign trail this week. Joined in studio with J.R. Davis, the communications director for Asa for Hutchinson, and Brad Howard, comms director for Mike Ross for governor. We'll take a break, and we'll be back talking politics here on the Alice Stewart Show. This segment of the program brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.